But in the Arkhamverse, Bane is often accompanied by mercenaries. One of them, knocked out during the initial scuffle, lies nearby. As Wick kicks Flails, his foot connects with the mercenary's dropped holster. A pistol slides across the damp concrete. Wick drops his weight, forcing Bane to adjust his grip for a split second. Just enough time for Wick to jam his thumbs into Bane's eyes. Bane roars and drops him. Wick hits the floor, rolls, and his hand closes around the grip of a Glock 17. Finally, the Baba Yaga has his wand. He doesn't panic. He doesn't spray and pray. From his back, he executes a perfect Mozambique drill. 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. But on Bane, the chest shots are aimed specifically at the glowing green venom tubes feeding his pectoral muscles. Bang, bang. The tubes shatter. Pressurized venom sprays out, hissing like a serpent. Bane screams as his strength instantly begins to drain, his body going into massive withdrawal shock. He stumbles, clutching his chest. Wick stands, bruised, ribs broken, breath rattling in his chest. He lines up the final shot. Bang! Bane hits the water. Wick checks the magazine. 3 rounds left. He holsters the weapon and limps toward the exit ladder. His survival odds are critically low now. Not because of the threat level, but because of the internal bleeding. He needs this night to end. But the main event is still watching in the mansion. Chapter 5. The Shapeshifter, Wick versus Clayface. He limps into the mansion main hall. It's quiet. Too quiet. The grand staircase looms ahead. The only path to the warden's office. A lone security guard stumbles out from behind a pillar, waving a hand in relief. "Thank God," the guard says, reaching out. "You have to help me." Wick stops. His instincts, honed by decades in the underworld, scream at him. The guard's uniform is dry despite the rain outside. His movement is too fluid, too loose. Wick raises the Glock 17 he took from Bane's mercenary. He fires his last 3 rounds. Whip, whip, whip. The bullets hit the guard's chest, but there's no blood. The impact points ripple like stones thrown into a pond. The guard's face melts, dissolving into a slurry of brown sludge. Basil Carlo, Clayface. The disguise falls away, revealing a towering mass of shifting mud. This is a tactical nightmare. Clayface is essentially a living, non-Newtonian fluid. Kinetic energy from punches or bullets is absorbed and redistributed instantly. You can't punch a mudslide. You can't shoot a swamp. Harlow laughs, a wet, gurgling sound, and swings an arm that transforms midair into a massive spiked mace. Wick dives, barely clearing the impact that shatters the marble floor. He's out of ammo, his ribs are grinding together, and he's facing an enemy that is physically invulnerable to blunt force trauma. The survival calculator drops to single digits. But Wick is an environment fighter. He scans the room. The Arkham Mansion's old, constantly undergoing repairs. He spots scaffolding near the east wing, and beneath it, a pressurized tank labeled liquid nitrogen for pipe freezing. Physics is the only way to kill a shapeshifter. Clayface lunges, his body expanding to envelop Wick. The mud wraps around Wick's leg, dragging him in to suffocate him. It's a terrifying way to die, drowning in living earth. But Wick isn't struggling away, he's pulling toward the tank. With his free hand, he grabs a discarded crowbar from the renovation pile. He doesn't aim for Clayface. He swings with everything he has left at the tank's valve. The brass shears off. Sub-zero gas explodes outward at negative 320 degrees Fahrenheit. The effect is instantaneous. The thermal shock is catastrophic for a being made of moisture and soil. Clayface screams as his molecular structure rapidly crystallizes. The mud hardens, turning brittle and gray. The grip on Wick's leg loosens as the monster freezes solid. Trapped in mid-transformation, Wick stands up, shivering as the cold vapor washes over him. He raises the crowbar one last time and delivers a single, shattering blow to the frozen torso. Clayface crumbles into a pile of icy rubble. Wick drops the bar. He's running on fumes, but the final door is just ahead. Chapter 6. The Punchline. Wick versus the Joker. The double doors to the warden's office kick open. The Joker is waiting. he's sitting on the mahogany desk, feet up, a detonator in one hand, and a terrified hostage in the other. "Welcome to the party, Jonathan." Joker grins, his face painted in that terrifying, chaotic scowl. He spins the detonator on his finger. "Now, here's the dilemma. The rules of the game are simple. You take one step, and bang. There is no monologue. There's no moral debate. There is no hesitation. This is the fundamental understanding the Joker has about John Wick. The Joker has spent his entire career fighting Batman, a man bound by a rigid, unbreakable code of ethics. Batman will listen to the riddle. Batman will try to save everyone. Batman will engage in the psychological back and forth because he believes in redemption. Joker's entire strategy relies on that hesitation. He thrives on the killing joke, the torture of forcing a hero to make an impossible choice. John Wick doesn't have a code. He has a job. Wick had scavenged a loaded SIG sour from a fallen guard outside the office. He didn't ask about the bomb. He didn't wait for the punchline. He assessed the threat, a man holding a detonator, and neutralized it with a single surgical headshot. The Joker drops backward off the desk, the smile wiped from his face before he even hits the floor. The hostage screams, but Wick's already moving. He secures the detonator, ensuring the dead man's grip didn't trigger it. The punchline of this encounter is that there isn't one. When you remove the theatricality and the moral constraints of a comic book hero, the Joker's just a man in a suit with slow reflexes. Wick moves to the window. The storm is raging outside. Police helicopters are swarming the island, searchlights cutting through the rain. The GCPD's here. He can't fight an entire police force. He has no ammo and severe internal injuries. While looking out at the bay, he sees the Joker's extraction boat bopping at the private docks. He looks back at the office. He grabs a heavy chair and hurls it through the window, shattering the glass. He doesn't look back at the body on the floor. He jumps, sliding down the slate roof of the mansion, crashing into the bushes below. He limps toward the water, the engine of the boat waiting to carry him from the madness. The final image is a silhouette speeding away on a stolen boat as the asylum burns in the distance. So, what are the final odds? We give John Wick a 7% chance of survival. He survives, not because he's stronger than Batman, but because he's more efficient. He treats Arkham's inmates like targets, not patients. He doesn't play their games, he ends them. But now that he's escaped Gotham, where should the Baba Yaga go next? Should he try to survive the zombie apocalypse of Raccoon City or face the Avengers? Let us know in the comments below. Stay smart.
Imagine standing alone at the gates of Arkham Asylum. Lightning flashes, and behind those doors has unleashed hell. You've got Batman's gear and his training, but you're still dealing. For the next 12 hours, every inmate wants you dead. No escape. And science, psychology, and sheer grit to keep you alive in Gotham's deadliest madhouse. Time to find out. So how does the world's greatest detective end up trapped in his own worst nightmare? Batman captures the Joker after another killing spree, and Commissioner Gordon asks him to personally escort the clown Prince of Crime to Arkham Asylum. It's supposed to be a simple handover, but the moment Batman steps foot inside, the trap springs. The Joker breaks free, every door seals shut, and communications go dark. Batman's been played. The Joker wanted to be here all along. If you found yourself in Batman's boots during those first crucial hours, your survival would depend on real-world tactical principles that special forces use in hostile territory. The first rule is situational awareness. Treat every shadow, sound, and corner as a potential threat. Military close-quarters combat training teaches soldiers to never move in straight lines and always have an exit strategy mapped out. Your initial priority would be intelligence gathering. Batman's detective vision isn't just a cool gadget. It's based on real thermal imaging technology that exists today. FLIR systems used by law enforcement can detect body heat through walls. You need to constantly scan your environment, identify enemy positions, and structural weaknesses you could exploit. The key to surviving those first few hours is understanding that you're not trying to win. You're trying to stay alive long enough to gather information. Real hostage rescue teams spend months planning for operation in the last minutes. You don't have that luxury, so you need to adapt using urban warfare principles. Stay mobile, use cover, and never engage unless absolutely necessary. Having discipline would be crucial. In a facility filled with mentally unstable criminals, noise travels fast and draws attention. Navy SEALs train extensively in silent movement techniques. You need to master moving through Arkham's creaking corridors without alerting every psychopath to your location. The psychological warfare starts immediately. The inmates aren't just trying to kill you. They're trying to break your mind. They'll scream threats and try to trigger panic responses. Counter-interrogation training teaches soldiers to compartmentalize these attacks, focusing on breathing techniques to maintain operational effectiveness under extreme psychological pressure. About 3 hours into your helmet, you encounter something that makes every other threat seem like a warning. Dr. Jonathan Crane, better known as Scarecrow. This isn't just another villain with a gun. This is a psychiatrist who's weaponized fear itself. His fear toxin doesn't just scare you. It rewrites your perception of reality in real time, turning your brain into your own worst enemy. The science behind Scarecrow's fear toxin is rooted in real neurochemistry, just cranked up to nightmare levels. When you experience fear, your brain releases chemicals, including adrenaline, cortisol, and norepinephrine. These trigger your fight or flight response, but they also impair higher cognitive functions, like critical thinking and memory formation. Imagine a chemical that artificially triggers this response while introducing hallucinogenic properties, similar to LSD or PCP. Real hallucinogens work by disrupting neurotransmitter, particularly serotonin and dopamine pathways. They can cause visual hallucinations, paranoia, and complete breaks from reality. Scarecrow's toxin essentially combines the worst aspects of panic attack with psychotic episodes. When the toxin hits your system, your world transforms into a living nightmare. The asylum's corridors stretch into impossible dimensions. Walls bleed. You start seeing things that your rational mind knows can't be real, but your chemically altered brain insists are absolutely there. You might see giant bats swooping down, or ghosts of everyone you failed to save, accusing you of letting them die. The strategic challenge goes far beyond just fighting enemies. You're fighting your own perception of reality. Military personnel exposed to chemical agents describe similar experiences. The inability to trust your senses makes even basic navigation nearly impossible. You might think you're running for an exit when you're actually heading straight into a wall. To survive Scarecrow's assault, you'd need grounding techniques and movement therapy. The 5-4-3-2-1 technique teaches you to identify 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. This anchors your mind to physical reality when your brain is lying about what's real. But here's where it gets brutal. You don't have time for calm meditation when psychotic inmates are hunting you. You need tactical awareness while your brain is being scrambled by chemical warfare. It's like defusing a bomb while someone screams in your ear and flashes strobe lights in your eyes. The only way through this horror is accepting that your perceptions are compromised and relying entirely on logical processes and muscle memory. The forces soldiers train for exactly these scenarios, operating effectively even when their senses are unreliable, trusting their training more than their immediate possessions. Halfway through your nightmare night, you discover that Arkham's head psychiatrist has been secretly developing something called Titan, a performance-enhancing drug that makes steroids look like children's vitamins. When Bane gets his hands on this stuff, he transforms from a dangerous but human-sized threat into a literal monster that can punch through concrete walls. The real science behind performance enhancement is fascinating and terrifying. Anabolic steroids can increase muscle mass by up to 20% and strength by 38% in trained athletes, but that's nothing compared to the theoretical enhancement. Myostatin inhibitors currently being researched for treating muscle-based diseases could potentially double or triple muscle mass by blocking a protein that actually limits muscle growth. When someone injects Titan, their muscle mass explodes, bone density increases dramatically, and aggression levels skyrocket. From a biological standpoint, this would require massive increases in growth hormone, testosterone, and IGF-1 levels, combined with alterations to pain perception and neural firing patterns. But here's the thing about fighting someone chemically enhanced to superhuman levels. Useless. A normal human punch can generate about 400 pounds. A heavyweight boxer might hit with 1,300 pounds of force. A Titan-enhanced vein could, theoretically, generate over 3,000 pounds of force, enough to shatter bones. So, how do you fight pain? You don't fight it directly. You outsmart it. Military doctrine for engaging superior forces emphasizes mobility, environmental advantages, and exploiting weaknesses against a Titan-enhanced enemy. Your strategy would focus on hit-and-run tactics, using the environment as a weapon, and targeting structural vulnerabilities. The key insight is that bigger and stronger doesn't mean smarter or more agile. Titan enhancement comes with trade-offs. Increased mass means reduced speed. Pressure often comes with reduced tactical thinking. You need to use these limitations against your enemy, staying mobile, using cover, and forcing them to exhaust themselves. Then there's Poison Ivy's botanical nightmare. After exposure to Titan, she's transformed the greenhouse into a living weapon, with carnivorous plants, toxic spores, and aggressive vines that respond to her mental commands. The science here is rooted in real botanical warfare concepts. Plants have evolved chemical defenses for millions of years, creating some of nature's most potent toxins. The castor bean produces ricin, one of the deadliest poisons known. Australia's Gimpy Gimpy plant causes pain so intense that victims have committed suicide to escape it. Fighting in this environment would be like combat in an alien world where the ground itself wants to kill you. Every step could trigger pressure-sensitive root systems that alert Ivy to your location. The air becomes a weapon as toxic spores flood the atmosphere. Traditional cover becomes useless when the plants themselves are the enemy. Your only advantage would be that plant will still operate on biological timescales slower than human reflexes. While a vine might crush your rib cage, it still takes time to grow, position itself, and strike. A trained fighter could potentially exploit these timing windows, but it would require perfect situational awareness under extreme stress. Just when you think you've faced the worst Arkham has to offer, you descend into the sewers beneath the asylum. Specimens for an antidote. Down here, you're being hunted by something that's more apex predator than human being. It's Waylon Jones, better known as Killer Croc, and this encounter will test every survival instinct you never knew you had. The moment you enter Croc's domain, you're operating pure survival horror territory. Unlike fighting enhanced humans or even mutant plants, you're now facing a creature that's been genetically altered into something between human and crocodile. Croc stands over 8 feet tall, weighs close to 700 pounds, and has skin so thick it can deflect small caliber bullets. But his jaw strength is estimated at over 3,000 pounds per square inch. But here's the terrifying part. He knows these sewers better than you know your own home. The science behind Croc's transformation is rooted in a rare genetic condition called epidermolytic hyperkeratosis, which causes severe skin abnormalities. In Croc's case, this condition has been amplified to comic extremes, giving him reptilian scales, enhanced strength, and dramatically improved sentience. His night vision is superior to yours. His hearing can detect your heartbeat across a tunnel, and his sense of smell can track you through running water. What makes this encounter uniquely terrifying is that all your usual advantages are stripped away. Your detective vision helps, but Croc moves through water silently, despite his massive size. Your combat skills are useless because this isn't a fight. It's a chase sequence where getting caught means instant death. Your gadgets provide limited help in where one wrong step alerts a predator who spent years protecting his English tactics. The psychological warfare here is different from Scarecrow's mind game or the Joker's attack. This is primal fear. Terror of being hunted by something bigger, stronger, and better adapted to the environment than you are. Croc doesn't need clever psychological manipulation. His mere presence triggers evolutionary fear responses that humans developed over millions of years of being prey animals. As you wade through waist-deep water collecting plant samples, every sound could be Croc moving into position. The echo of dripping water masks his approach. The darkness hides his massive form.
Radiant Spirit.
He's taking to strike. You're forced to move slowly and carefully to avoid making noise. But speed is your only real defense against an ambush predator. The environmental challenge amplifies everything. Sewer systems are three-dimensional mazes where threats can come from any direction. The water slows your movement while providing perfect concealment for Croc. The confined spaces eliminate escape routes while giving him every advantage. You're essentially playing hide and seek with a monster, except losing means becoming his next meal. From a tactical standpoint, you're operating under the same principles that keep people alive in big cat territory. Avoid looking like prey. Stay aware of your surroundings. Unless you're absolutely certain you can reach safety. But, unlike wildlife encounters, Croc has human intelligence guiding him predatory instinct. This encounter proves that sometimes in Arkham, raw survival counts heroics. You're not here to defeat Killer Croc. You're here to complete your mission and escape with your life intact. It's Batman at his most vulnerable, and a reminder that even the world's greatest detective can become someone else's prey. Let's talk about the brutal reality of what 12 hours in Arkham Asylum would actually do to a normal human being. Starting with your cardiovascular system. Your heart would be at the for the entire night. Normal resting is around 60 to 80 beats per minute. During intense fear or combat, it can spike to 180 to 220 beats per minute. Maintaining elevated heart rates above 175 beats per minute for extended periods can cause arrhythmias, heart muscle damage, and, in extreme cases, cardiac arrest. After 12 hours of constant life or death stress, your cardiovascular system would be operating well beyond safe parameters. The stress hormone cascade would be equally devastating. Your adrenal glands would be pumping out cortisol and adrenaline at maximum capacity. 12 hours of continuous, high-level stress would flood your system with these chemicals, leading to severe adrenal fatigue, immune system suppression, cognitive impairment. Sleep deprivation adds another layer of physiological torture. After 18 to 20 hours without sleep, cognitive performance drops to levels equivalent to being legally drunk. You react at times slowly. Decision-making becomes impaired. You start experiencing negative sleep episodes where you only touch down for seconds at a time. In a combat situation, any of these could be fatal. The physical trauma will be accumulating throughout the night. Every fight, every fall, every impact will cause micro-injuries that compound over time. Professional fighters typically limit sparring sessions to avoid accumulated brain damage. But you'd be engaging in full-contact combat for 12 hours straight. The cumulative effect on your brain from repeated impacts would be similar to severe concussion syndrome. Nutritionally, your body would be burning through energy stores at an unstable rate. High-intensity physical activity can burn 800 to 1,200 calories per hour. Without proper nutrition, your blood sugar would crash, leading to hypoglycemia. Your body would start breaking down muscle tissue for energy, causing rapid physical deterioration. The psychological damage might be even worse than physical trauma. Exposure to extreme violence sometimes cause death, and a grotesque horror of arguments would likely cause stress disorder. The human mind isn't designed to process that level of trauma continuously, without breaking down. Combat stress reaction typically develops after much shorter periods of intense combat than what you'd experience in Arkham. By hour 8 or 9, most people would be operating in a state of complete exhaustion that makes effective decision-making nearly impossible, even if you somehow survive the night physically intact. The psychological scars would be permanent. The concentrated horror of 12 hours in Arkham would likely cause complex trauma, requiring years of intensive therapy, assuming it could be treated at all. Could you really survive a single night in Arkham Asylum? Honestly, probably not. Batman pushes human limits further than anyone alive. Elite physical conditioning, unmatched psychological resilience, and strategic genius. But science shows that Arkham's horrors could break even the toughest among us. Batman doesn't just survive, he conquers. His real superpower isn't gadgets or strength. It's his relentless preparation and sheer determination to defy impossible odds. Could you handle even an hour inside Gotham's deadliest mansions? Or would the Joker's twisted welcome party be your last memory? Tell me in the comments, hit subscribe, and stay tuned for more dives into the brutal science behind your favorite heroes and villains. The gravity hit Patrick at Raccoon City, playing as screams echo from the street below. Batman's cape whips in again as he surveys a city that looks like Gotham's worst nightmare come to life. Bodies stumble through abandoned streets, but something's wrong with their movement pattern. Too erratic, too hungry. His powers display shows the timestamp September 26th, 1998, 11:47 p.m. 72 hours. The government's nuclear solution wipes this place off the map. The world's greatest detective has 3 days to do what an entire military couldn't accomplish: contain a biological weapon that's already consumed an entire city. But here's the problem. Batman spent decades perfecting non-lethal takedown, techniques, and psychological warfare against criminals who feel pain and fear death. What happens when those tools become useless? Given 72 hours to find a cure, would Batman survive Raccoon City or join the legions of the Undead? Batman's first move is going punching. It's gathering intelligence. His detective training kicked in immediately, treating this like any other crime scene investigation, except this crime scene spans 8 years. The evidence is trying to eat him. The T-virus transmission vectors become his primary concern. His cowl's filtration system was designed for Gotham's chemical attack. Joker gas, Scarecrow's fear toxins, basic airborne contaminant. But biological weapons operate differently. The virus spreads through fluid contact, airborne particles from decomposing tissue, and direct bite transmission. His sealed environment gives him an advantage, but every micro tear from combat increases infection risk exponentially. The Bat computer runs real-time analysis on tissue samples he collects, comparing viral mutation rates against his database of known biological agents. What he discovers changes everything. This isn't just rabies or some enhanced pathogen. It's a complete rewrite of human biology at the cellular level. The infected aren't sick people who can be cured. There's something else entirely. His standard Gotham protocols prove useless within hours. Pain compliance techniques that work on drug dealers and mobsters have zero effect on preclinical nervous systems. No longer intimidation tactics fail against enemies. Even his detectives play a quick role when witnesses are either dead or trying to bite his face off. The tactical priority shift happens fast. Instead of apprehending suspects, he's established safe zones. Instead of gathering testimony, he's mapping infection patterns through the city's surveillance network. The Batcave's remote support becomes crucial. Alpha coordinates drone surveillance while the Bat computer processes
enemy's middle
data
tower
faster than any CDC lab. But the most disturbing realization comes around hour 6. The creatures he's fighting used to be Raccoon City's citizens, parents, children, police officers, shopkeepers. His non-lethal code, the fundamental principle that separates him from the criminals he fights, becomes a liability in an environment where mercy is death. The gear adaptations start immediately. Standard batarangs get reinforced with explosive charges. Smoke bombs prove worthless against enemies who hunt by sound and scent rather than sight.
His grappling gun becomes less about dramatic entrances and more about rapid vertical escapes when overwhelmed by sheer numbers. By hour 8, Batman's survival odds sit at roughly 85%. He's adapted his tactics, secured temporary safe zones, and established communication with the outside world. But the real test hasn't begun yet. The first pack of infected dogs changes Batman's entire understanding of what is happening. They're those specimens, German shepherds, twisted by the T-virus into something that was horribly at veterinary clinics. Their muscle density is about 40%. Their jaw strength rivals industrial hydraulics. They move by coordination that suggests the virus enhances certain function while destroying others. Batman's batarangs, targets, only slow them down. The kinetic energy calculation is going on. His standard throwing weapons deliver roughly 60 moves. Nothing against the unconscious, but insufficient to penetrate the thick and skull density of infected tissue. He switches to explosive variants. Each detonation, a small compromise of his main code. The lickers present an entirely different challenge. These wall-crawling nightmares move faster than his grappling gun can extract his danger. His cowl's motion sensors scratch and poke, but their speed makes conventional escape route useless. The physics are beautiful. He sees the main code 25 miles per hour while crawling over surfaces. The claws finding searches on concrete and steel with equal ease. Sleep deprivation becomes a factor faster than expected. Batman's trained for extended operations. But this isn't patrol work with brief encounters and downtime between conflicts. This is continuous combat against enemies that never tire, never retreat, and never stop hunting. His reaction are given after 18 hours of constant vigilance. Decision-making becomes clouded by exhaustion. What things are thinking matters most? Luckily, Batman has the help of Alfred, who supported him remotely from the Batcave. Drone surveillance maps creatures' movement patterns throughout the city, identifying safe corridors and predicting creature behavior based on thermal signatures and motion analysis. Alfred's coordination becomes the difference between tactical retreat and being overwhelmed by superior numbers. But the real breaking point comes when Batman counters his first infected child. A 10-year-old girl still ready to have clean uniform. Spreading as every other creature in this nightmare. His non-lethal killing screams at him to find another way, to save her somehow. The biological reality comes back that she's already gone. That the thing wearing her face stopped being human the moment the virus rewrote her DNA. The explosive battery leaves his hand before conscious thought can stop it. The ethical compromise tastes like copper and failure. But the alternative is letting sentient getting killed in a city where death indicated the enemy. By hour 24, Batman's survival odds have dropped to 70%. He's learning to fight monsters, but the cost is measured in silver. Hour 25 brings Batman face to face with something that shouldn't exist in any rational universe. The Tyrant, designation Mr. X, stands 8 feet tall in the RPD's main hallway. Its gray flesh stretched over impossible muscle memory. This isn't just another infected human. This is biological engineering taken to its logical extreme. A living weapon designed to hunt and kill. Batman's entire arsenal feels inadequate against this thing. Override human bone structure gets absorbed by tissue density that rivals Kevlar. Real-world taser limitations become painfully obvious. His electrical weapon any normal target, but the Tyrant's nervous system has been rewired to ignore pain signals entirely. The EMP grenades show more promise. The weapons disrupt the bioelectrical functions that keep the creature's enhanced muscles coordinated, creating brief windows of vulnerability. But brief is the operative word. Maybe 3 seconds before its systems compensate and the hunt resumes. 3 seconds to inflict damage on something that can punch through reinforced steel doors. Batman decides to use 3 EMPs to escape the Tyrant, choosing to avoid a fight that cannot be won. His quest for answers initially leads him to the Raccoon City Police Department. The RPD, a beacon of civic duty now overwhelmed by the chaos, provides the ideal environment for his detective work. He bypasses the barricaded main entrance, using his stealth and grappling hook to enter through the rooftops, seeking the archives and a secure computer terminal. Inside the station, amidst the remnants of the police force's last stand, Batman's path subtly mirrors and diverges from that of Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield. Like them, he navigates the maze of corrupted halls and encounters the undead, but his focus remains purely on intelligence gathering. He uses the Batcomputer's decryption capability while uncovering And corporate lobbies to an umbrella. He hired grotesque private office and the sealed Star's office, and he uncovered the most crucial evidence. Death of Umbrella's rival and control of the city of people. More importantly, he finds a series of encrypted schematics and maintenance logs for the city's power grid and water treatment plants, which he deduces are concealing the entrances to several major facilities. This evidence, wholly corporate and irrefutable, hits the emotional beat of reuniting survivors, but provides a direct, intellectual path to the source of the infection. A signature move of the Dark Knight that sets his journey apart. The psychological shift happens gradually, then all at once. By hour 30, Batman stops looking for ways to incapacitate the infected and starts calculating the most efficient methods of permanent neutralization. The moral framework that guided him through decades of crime fighting crumbles under biological necessity. These aren't criminals who choose their path. They're victims of corporate bioweapons research. But they're also beyond crazy. And settlement in this environment equals death. Real-world military containment protocols become his new operational manual. Area denial through controlled explosions, quarantine enforcement through lethal population control through strategic elimination of high-threat targets. The language sounds clinical, but the reality involves making decisions that would have horrified the man who entered Raccoon City 48 hours ago. The caloric expenditure analysis paints a grim picture. Continuous combat operations burn through energy reserves faster than Batman can replenish them. His body requires roughly 4,000 calories per day under normal circumstances. Extended combat against superhuman opponents while wearing heavy armor pushes that number past 6,000. The city's food supplies are either contaminated or inaccessible, forcing him to rely on emergency rations that won't sustain this level of activity much longer. Physical exhaustion compounds every other risk factor. Compromised gear from repeated combat exposure increases infection vulnerability. Slower reaction times makes encounters with fast-moving lickers potentially fatal. Decision fatigue affects tactical planning just as strategic thinking becomes most crucial for survival. The breaking point arrives when Batman encounters a Nemesis-class tyrant, hunting the remaining STARS members through the city. This creature makes Mr. X look like a warm-up exercise. It carries military-grade weapons, demonstrates tactical intelligence, and adapts its hunting patterns based on its target's behavior. Worse,